Hello, everyone, and welcome to the QSR Show. This is the first episode of the QSR Show, and this is the show where we get under the hat of all things QSR. Exactly.
That's why I wore the hat.
It's good to have two hats on the screen. Now it's a live show. Well, it's live if it's 8:30 in the evening in the UK on November the 27th. And because it's live, and if you are here live, we love you to get involved. So pop a comment up, say hello, and get involved in our conversations, because this is what I start with written down. Not much, because this is going to be a conversation, and hopefully a conversation led by the people that are here live. So what do? Each episode of the QSR show, we have a new brand and a new topic of conversation. And this week, the topic of conversation is creating a QSR brand. And to talk about that, we have the lovely Stephen Hopper from Plan Burrito. Steve, welcome to the QSR show.
Pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. Well, I think it would be a great place to start, just to do a little introduction to yourself, and and let's go right back to let's start at the beginning. So, where did it all begin? Was it back of a napkin on one time, or?
Well, you could pretty much say that. What I like to say is it started with a drunk night out in Oxford, actually. So my brother invited me down to Oxford back in 2015, and it was to celebrate an occasion. So I said I'd happily drink with him because it tends to be a non-alcohol student population down there. So we went down and we wanted to line our stomachs a little bit. So I thought, where are we going to go? Are we going to go Subway, McDonald's, KFC? And he says, no, we'll go to this place called Mission Burrito. It's just in the town. I said, burrito, what's that? This is 10 years ago. This is before Tex-Mex really started growing in the UK. So he took me there, and there was a constant queue, and I seen people, you could build your burrito however you wanted it. So I'm quite a fussy eater, I'm very much not into too much healthiness. It's always the usual kind of culprits on the high street with burgers and fried chicken and the rest of the stuff, which tastes great, but it's not too good on your waistline.
No.
But anyway, I made up the burrito how I wanted it. We sat down and I teared down as far as I'm biting with the foil, and I bit into it. I thought, this is game changing. The flavors are beautiful. It's fresh. It's handheld. It's low price packaging. It's sustainable. I thought, this is going to be the future. You kind of look how things are in America, and you think, you've got a Chipotle on nearly every street down there, and I just seen exactly where it was going. And after I had that, I wrote a long email to Mission Burrito saying, I'd love to franchise, even though they're not it wasn't a franchise model. They owned company-owned stores. And I didn't get any reply. So when I was looking for other franchise opportunities online, there was none existing. So I only had one option, and that was to start my own brand in it and become the franchisor. So I went back to my job as a design engineer, and I put a little folder on my desktop called Plan Burrito, because that's all I had. And in that file, I had properties in Loughborough, which is where I'm from. I knew it would be a good location because we've got a high student population and a very diverse student population as well. So people from all over the place and international as well, where it's a lot more heard of. So that's what I did. I fired that file off to estate agents and landlords and solicitors, and they kept referring to the company as Plan Burrito Limited. I said, no, that's just the folder name. I haven't came up with the name yet. And, so I thought, right, let's nip this one in the bud. I sat down, I thought, what am I going to call this thing? And Plan Burrito worked because, if you're planning to eat, you can plan burrito. You can plan your ingredients that go into the burrito. You've got burrito in the name, so your SEO is going to be pretty sorted at that stage. And at that time I thought, if burritos work, I'm going to have Plan Pizza, Plan Burger, I'm going to have the Plan range, you know. But it turns out the burritos took up too much of my time, and I'm you know, I'm still on it now. So
amazing.
So,
So your plan B became your plan A.
Exactly. Yes.
Fantastic. I love it. Well, look, before we start to get into how you started to create this incredible brand, let's welcome a few people who have joined us here live already. Say hello. So we have the lovely Simon Wise. He's put hello, franchise friends, of course, from the franchise industry, and a big supporter of our sister show, the Franchise Show. And he looks after a lot of your staffing needs in the industry. So he's put great to be joining the QSR show. And we have the lovely Sonny Dickinson, and he's on fire. So hopefully someone will put Sonny out. And of course, Sonny is absolutely firmly in the QSR industry and finding top talent for people in the industry. So great to have you with us, Sonny. Let us know all of your thoughts, of course, on what it means to you about creating a brand. You know, have you ever had a grand idea about creating a brand? You know, how would you have gone about it? What questions have you got? So pop them in the chat. Let's have a look. Who else have we got? We've got the fantastic Nick Pleven, supporter of our sister show. He's put good evening, Stephen and Harvey. And Nick has, again, some great software to help you get the right people in your business. We've got a lot of people today that can help with that side of things. And I think we're definitely going to touch on how important people are when you're creating your brand in a minute. But let's continue welcoming people who have joined us here live. We've got the fantastic Joe Caruso. Joe is a fantastic individual based over in America, really top guy in terms of QSR and franchising in the United States. So I would encourage you to reach out to Joe if you're looking at expansion into that area. And he's put hello, Stephen Hopper and Harvey Tuck. Brilliant to see you together. Well, it's fantastic to have you with us. We've got a couple more people and then we're going to get back into this conversation. We've got the lovely Martin Walker, again, a fantastic recruiter in the industry of hospitality. Great to have you with us, Martin. Martin's put looking forward to the show. Good to see you, Harvey. Well, fantastic to have you as well. We have Simon Robinson with us. Simon, welcome to the QSR show. Great to have you with us.
He got out of this one because I actually said, you know, you're welcome to join us on here because he works alongside me. So
it's not too late. I can send you the
link. No harsh questions, Simon.
I'll have to watch him. We've got Daniel Higgins with us. I believe Daniel is from Greg's. So great to have you with us, Daniel. Correct me if I got that wrong. And he's put hello. So great to have you with us. And finally, we have the lovely Leslie Flowers, who is from America, has her own show based around the book Think and Grow Rich. And it's been a very important part of my journey, that particular book, thanks to Leslie. So really important to have you with us, Leslie. Thank you very much for that. So without further ado, let's continue on this journey. So, you know, we've had the drunken night out. I remember having a drunken night out. And rather than starting a business, I decided to sign up for Tough Mudder on that drunken night out many years ago and ended up doing it 3 times. Why didn't I just start a business?
You weren't drunk enough. That's what it was. Yeah.
That's what I should have done. That was my mistake, you see. Did you go through the whole, maybe we'll do Tough Mudder, and then you went
just come on a night out with me. You'll have about 10 businesses.
Excellent, great stuff. So we've gone through those sort of that early sort of spark of idea, that light bulb moment, and I know you looked at trying to get into other businesses, and it drove you towards this. And we've looked a little bit about the name, but what were your next steps on this journey? You know, where do you even start? You know, did you have a pop-up restaurant? Did you start from home somewhere making some burritos? What was the beginning of that side of things?
No, it was quite, you know, I just went into it with both feet, to be honest. I wasn't happy doing design engineering where I was, and you know, if you're waking up every day dreading to go to work, then there's something massively wrong with your life. So I thought, if I don't make the move now, you know, I've got a chance to do it before I have children and before I've got too much at stake, then that was the right time. So, you know, I've never been in business before. I've never made a burrito before. I went to quite a few burrito stores in the UK, seeing what they were doing and what I thought we could do better as well, because I always thought, you know, that's a good basis. If you know the key stages of it, then you can adapt that and make it better. And then that would be your kind of USPs. I actually applied for a job in Bar Burrito in Nottingham, and could I hell get a job there? They would not employ me. So yeah, I had two. I went for two interviews, and each time they rejected me. So in the end, I know, because I was so passionate about wanting to work there, they said they'd give me a tour of the kitchen and stuff. So
You had your notepad out, yeah?
that kind of gave me the ideas on how things were done,
Yeah.
and I kind of knew then how they were doing it, and I didn't agree with everything, but that's, you know, that's where Plan Burrito came in, because we took them ideas and we put it into play in our store, but made it slightly better, better by means of operation wise. We made it simpler, and also things like fit out. So, you know, our fit out costs was minimal. I had only a £10,000 credit card to start this brand up, so I was up against it, and me and my late father went into the store. So after the lease was agreed, we went into the store, and I said, right, we're going to have a service desk here, and that's going to have these hot things in that hold hot ingredients. So then there's a cold bit, and I've seen it on a website we can get, and we'll just shove that in. We've got one of these pressy things which will heat the tortilla, and we'll put that there. And we kind of built it. Being from a design background, it was easy. We just had a lot of wood in there. I mean, if that shop ever caught fire, it would be gone. It's you know, it's very woody.
Yeah.
You know, we built tables out of wood. We built everything out of wood because we just didn't have. I didn't have the funding to do it, and I didn't want to borrow any money from family members, because this was my journey. You know, I wanted to make sure I made it myself. So that's what we did. You know, and when I opened up, I had literally zero in the bank account, and I ended up employing a student who was at Loughborough University, who happened to have worked at Bar Burrito in Manchester. So he was down at Loughborough studying, so I employed him, and he came in and showed us how to wrap burritos, fold the tacos, how to do the nachos and everything else like that. And at that time, our product was really not great. You know, I had, you know, meats that were unseasoned, and we were there upstairs in the kitchen chucking barbecue sauce into it, pulling it and saying, yeah, that looks about right, that'll do, take it down, you know. But because we had no competition at that time, we could start with a subpar product, because they didn't have an option. They didn't have any other options in the same game as us. So I think people accepted it and thought, actually, the mediocre kind of food you're serving is actually good. So, but obviously, as the brand has progressed and we've spoke to different suppliers and developed our own exclusive products and stuff, then, you know, now we're winning all the awards at the food awards, etc. So we developed it from that, and, you know, then I started changing the processes and operations on how things were done. even little things like how things were laid out. You know, we were moving them around so staff could take half the amount of steps in a day than how they would how competitors were set out. And our equipment, because we were limited with spend budget, was literally drop in, drop out equipment. It's not one of them that where if your Bay Marie went down, you'd have to get a technician out to fix it, which you'd lose a day's take-ins or 2 days take-ins, so then you'd have to take it out and send it away. Ours was literally drop it in, drop it out. You know, if that breaks down, you take it away, you put a new one in. You don't lose any trade that way. You know, everything was just done simple. And actually, we still use the same method now because it's very reliable, and it gives our stores a very low investment for startup.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that was one of your core principles because you didn't have any money to start it up, you know, and look, hospitality, you know, we were talking about this at the beginning, you know, it's tight to try and find the margins in hospitality. You've got to be creative, but you've got to offer, you know, there's so much choice now. You've got to offer a great product and something someone will come back with. We've got a few questions and things coming in, so I think it's important to get to a few of these while we're having this discussion. Let's first of all, I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone that's listening from America. We tend to focus on Christmas, but Thanksgiving is incredibly important. It's a good time to say thank you to everyone. So yeah, great to have you with us as well. Let's have a look at a question here from Simon. Simon has put, QSR is a busy market. How do you stand out from the crowd with any new QSR brand? Yeah, I think it's a great question. You know, if you're listening today and you're thinking, you know, let's say you're listening today and you're drunk in a pub listening. You know, how do you come up with something different? You know, at the time you did it, it was something new, it was something different. But I think as more and more ideas come in, it's really hard to make yourself stand out and be different from all the other choices, isn't it?
It is, but I think it comes from the start of the brand. You know, the name, so important. You know, if the name doesn't match, you know, if you called it Lovely Burritos, I don't think we'd have, you know, the same effect of what we have with a Plan Burrito. And like you say, I mean, you referred to it earlier as Plan B. Well, you know, everyone knows Plan B, what Plan B is. You know, it's a music artist as well. They can relate to it a little bit. So I think, you know, starting from a good name and a rememberable logo is also very important. You know, my thought with the hat and mustache at the beginning was so that if people seen that without Plan Burrito written under it, then it would have the effect of the golden arches in McDonald's or the Colonel in KFC. You know, so having something like that is really important.
I wouldn't know anything about having something to do with a hat and marketing.
No, exactly. No, I didn't want to steal. I didn't want to steal your light tonight.
Maybe I should have just had the moustache.
But yeah, I mean, cosmetic wise and logo wise, you know, we're finding our brand now moving towards a very clean cut. So it look, you know, when you open up an iPhone and everything fits just nicely and it's pristine, and you know, so we've gone down that route simply because we're not trying to be cliche. And you know, we find a lot of our competitors are, you know, you go inside and it's sombreros and tequila and wood, and that's how I started it. You know, I thought it has to be authentic like that. But you know, you look what Joe Madonna Kebab did to the kebab kind of game. You know, you didn't go in there and think this is a kebab shop, or what Heavenly Desserts did to the dessert stores. You know, they made it kind of a nice, clean, premium feel, and you know, that's the kind of route that we're taking with Plan Burrito at a minute. I mean, our newer stores have gone very monotone. We've stripped the colouring out of it because it's important to keep it up to date and keep it modernized. And we've been trading now for 10 years, so now is a good time. And as well as that, you know, your USPs I guess is a huge one. So how do you stand out? Well, you know, we get so many people coming in saying, oh, you don't charge extra for guacamole, you don't charge extra for cheese, you don't charge extra for sour cream. We're saying, no, you know, you pay at the beginning, nice, clear pricing structure. You pay at the beginning what, you know, the cost of a burrito, £10, and when it gets down to the end, it's still going to be £10. You know, when you go into similar businesses, you start with a burrito at £8 and you think, brilliant. But if you want anything in it, it's a pound extra, pound extra, pound extra, pound extra, £2 extra down there, and then they charge you. I said this on the show the other day. They charge you another £1 for the air that's in there, you know, and then they wrap it up, and you end up at 15 quid, and you think to yourself, something's gone wrong there. I feel like they've had my pants down a little bit, you know. But you know, that's again what we wanted to change. We wanted to change that because we believe that if we give you the ingredients that you like to make the food how you want it, then you're more likely to come back and you've got a repeat customer. And that's so important.
Yeah, I mean, look, people, whatever business idea you've got out there, we're talking today about creating a brand. So, you know, if you are thinking about creating a brand, if you do it with love and if you do it with passion and you do it right, people will come in and try it. But for people to come back, to build that loyalty, and that really is the success of any brand, because if you get people that come, that's their go-to place, right? Yeah. It makes such a difference to every part of the business. You know, you're not constantly having to attract new customer all the time. You can add to it. Really important. Let's have a look. We've got a few more questions coming in, so I'd like to get all of these into our chat today. So Sonny's put, loved hearing about your 800-page ops Bible this week. More brands should adapt something like this. Wow, 800 pages. My goodness. But did you squeeze it all into a small book like a burrito? You know, when you fold it up and it doesn't look like it's going to fit in there.
Usually it spews out anyway. We just double wrap it.
It goes at the same for the ops manual.
So no, the ops manual was done by Simon Robinson, who is spectating this evening. So there he is. He says he's all good tonight. Thanks. He is good. Yes. But yeah, me and Simon met in the early days, probably around 6 years ago, when he was under Heavenly Desserts, working at Heavenly Desserts, and he did some consultancy work on Plan Burrito in the background, and we got to know each other, and we slowly developed an operation manual, which was like that thick, and we were lucky enough to get Simon full-time on board at the beginning of 2025, and now the ops manual's that thick. But it's a world-class manual. You know, Simon's experience was in Starbucks in Canada.
Okay, wow.
And so he learned, you know, as unimaginable amounts at Starbucks, and then came over to the UK, and he's worked for, you know, Heavenly Desserts, GDK, Oodles, so quite a few brands, and he's been able to bring a wealth of knowledge into Plan Burrito. So we're running processes and systems which are, you know, they're that level, you know, they're very high for a brand which is as, you know, small as us. We have 15 stores.
Yeah, I guess that's one of the tricky things, isn't it? As you grow and as you scale, you know, when you're at sort of one site, maybe you're getting up to perhaps 3 sites. As the founder, the creator of the brand, you know, you're just immersed in it, you know, so many hours per day, and you're putting all of that passion and hard work into it. And it's all a bit hectic and things are constantly changing. You're constantly trying to find a way to get everything to work. And then when you sort of sit back, if you ever get a chance to do that, but when you take something like an ops manual, you know, you're then trying to put all that best practice. You know, you've probably done something 20 different ways and made all these different mistakes over, you know, these 10 years before you've got to where it should be, and therefore what you want to, you know, teach a franchisee or teach a member of staff as to how to do it. But how do you get your values, you know, those drunken values right at the beginning, or that, you know, that core, you know, that those early days? It's sometimes, I guess, it's hard to translate that into written form into an ops manual. Have you found, do you still recognize your early self in, a new sort of reincarnation of the business when a new store opens?
I do feel that as the brand grows, for you to be able to replicate it, you kind of lose ever so slightly them personal touches of what you did. I mean, I was out with the manager dressed as donkeys, handing out drinks. Before delivery was around, I started up my own delivery service for it on mobility scooters. So we had branded up mobility scooters, so we could deliver food actually to your door and in your door.
No.
Rather than stopping at the door. So we have flocks of mobility scooters going out, all branded up Plan Burrito.
No.
I mean, we were doing some absolutely stupid stuff, and we had lots of the walls of fames, walls of shames for the eating challenges. We supply them with a bin bag, so if they are sick, they have to sick into the bag and carry that home.
And is that then the wall of shame if they're sick?
If they're sick, or if they don't finish the challenge, you're on the wall of shame. Yeah. And then it became quite famous. We had leather shorts, we had beard meets food, we had all the big famous challengers coming in to do
Amazing.
it, and that sparked quite a bit of and everyone was coming then to do it. So yeah, I mean, you do have all these things, and we really pushed that. And we really try to, when we're doing our training to new franchisees, we really say, inject this into it. It needs this love, it needs this passion, it needs this drive, it needs this difference. But getting them to do it and exercise it is a different thing. So we constantly work from head office to try and motivate and to get these changes and get these exciting things done. And we teach it on their initial training to do that as well. So we're constantly striving to keep that authenticity from when we first started in the brand.
That's great.
So
that's great. It's hard, isn't it? Because like you say, it can be lost as a brand grows. But I think that's the difference between the true great brands, that they've managed to keep some of that authenticity and some of those core values. I mean, core values and culture are often just things that are written on a marketing document. But if you get it right, there's you were saying there about the fun and the hard work and doing all those sort of silly things. They can become part of a culture that makes something different, right? And it's really important. Really important.
Sometimes marketing's cheap, sometimes it's tacky. I mean, we allowed students to bring, because we're in a non-alcohol zone in our first store, and we said, if you want to bring alcohol in, that's fine, but you have to give our staff a can. So the staff, because we were on that same level, we were relating to our customers at the same level. They weren't just coming in for the burrito, they were coming in to see the staff, they were coming in to have a laugh. It was a relaxed vibe. We had PlayStations with projectors on the wall. We used to hold FIFA tournaments where people would come down, drink, and everyone would buy burritos. And we did everything what we had to do to really cement our place in the market.
Love it. And we've got quite a few more questions coming in, but I just want to say hello to my lovely friend and colleague, Elliot. Elliot is from Frankie, and he's put, "Evening, Harvey, just dropped in to have a little listen and say hi." Well, hi, Elliot, and I expect I'll see you soon. Who else have we got? We've got Lisa Feverick with us. Lisa is a regular to our other show, and she's put, "Hi, everyone. Great to have you with us, Lisa." Let's have a look while we're still on the subject of ops manuals. I think, let's have a look at this one. So Joe Caruso has put here, "How do people distill and utilize an 800-page manual in a practical way to use it when they need it?" I mean, one of the things I was going to say is, friend of our sister show, Penny Hopkinson's, who writes ops manuals, recently she's utilized AI to take a large document, right, and have that as the kind of the source for the questions that you're asking. Have you managed to sort of take this big document and make it a little bit more user friendly? Videos, QR codes, anything like that? Or is it just have a flick through?
Do you know what? We're currently working on it now. And you know, we've got we've got a good method which we feel would really resonate with the franchisees. So it's kind of like it uses AI, but it takes your section of your manual, and it will break down the wording, and it will do it by way of podcast. So you've got a female on there and you've got a male, say, and they're having a conversation about the business, but they cover everything in there. So that way it's not targeted at the franchisee to say, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. If you don't do it, it's a breach. You know, it's not targeted at them. When it's this way, it's asking questions as if what the franchisee would ask. So it's a two-way conversation from a third party. And that's more relatable to a franchisee and as a franchisor, because it kind of shows the questions that the franchisees would be thinking to ask. What, you know, why have we got to do this? Then it would say, you do this because you've got to do you know. And it you know, I think a lot of franchisees can think, oh God, this is all on me, it's fired at me, but having it this way, it makes it more of something, you know, like how many people now listen to podcasts in the car rather than listen to the radio? I mean, if you put into a franchise and you put that on in the car on your drive to work, you'll soon get through that ops manual, you know. And not only that, but you will take it in because you relate to it. So,
you're right. It's trying to get this information in a different, more, like you say, more relatable and a more engaging way. And look, franchisees are entrepreneurs, so naturally they tend to not like being told what to do, and I completely get that. But also they value the fact that they've been given a model and they don't have to kind of start in that same exciting but terrifying way you had to start, you know. So I think it's really interesting to sort of think of it in that way. Let's have another look here. Let's have a look at this one question here by Daniel. Welcome again, Daniel, to the show. Daniel's put, how important is having an app in your business, and how do you make your app stand out versus the different apps from other companies, as having an amazing app can help your brand stand out? Yeah, I mean, look, you know, we're sort of darting about in a bit of this conversation, but it's, you know, it's great. You know, we can talk about things that happen at the beginning. It doesn't have to be in order. You know, this is a conversation. So look, is an app part of the plan for Plan Burrito?
So we already have an app. So it's on the App Store and the Android Store. It's very important because it's a new age. If you haven't got an app, you're not really a credible brand, because, you know, with apps you can run your rewards for your loyal customers. On ours, you can do things like you can click on it, see where the store locations are, place an order, they can get it delivered then. You know, all the I mean, a lot of people don't go on an app just to, you know, to play games or anything else like that. There's a reason they're going onto your app. And that's usually for your rewards or to get food delivered to their house. So our app covers them things. We've also introduced a calorie calculator because our food's healthy. You know, whenever someone says, "Oh, well, let's get a takeaway," everyone instantly thinks, "Oh God, you know, I'm fat." It's not the case now. You know, there's so many healthy alternatives out there now, which is classed as fast food. You know, that far outweigh the nutritional values of something you'd even cook at home. You know, so we've put a calorie calculator on there so that people can go on, they can choose what ingredients they're going to have in it, and it's going to tell you your calories and stuff like that. So yeah, I think apps are really, really important to have.
I think you're right, and it's another point of engagement. You know, it's another touch point with a customer. Okay, it's a virtual touch point, and I think there's some discussion in this, isn't there? Because when you take something like a coffee shop as an example, you know, someone comes in, or, you know, let's take getting your burrito. You come in, you order and talking to someone, then you're moving along and someone's filling that, and maybe 2 or 3 people are doing that, and then someone passes it to you. There's lots of touch points for a customer staff interaction, which, you know, builds on that experience. But if someone's going onto the app because it's a cool app or it's got some stuff they want to look at, that's engagement as well, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And not only that, but you know, like you're saying, if people are queuing and they're taking for this, they can pre-order. So especially in places central London wise, where you know they're running at 1,000 mile an hour, people want their food ready for them. So an app allows. I mean, people aren't going to get their laptop out or their phone out and go onto Safari, Google Plan Burrito, then go onto the website, then go through the website to the ordering system, selecting where they are. An app, you logged in automatically. You can click on it and it's ready to order. You order it and it's ready to collect. You know, it's the ease, I think, of it. You know, compared to just website ordering.
Yeah, and it opens it up to different customers who want to order things and engage in a different way. So it's really important.
Absolutely.
Great question, Daniel. Let's have another look. By the way, if you have just joined us today, this is the QSR show. And this is a live show. And today we are talking about creating a QSR brand with the lovely Stephen Hopper from Plan Burrito. And let's have a look. Let's take this one here from Simon. Simon's put, beyond the noise of a new QSR launch, how do you build brand loyalty and repeat customers? It's a great question. We touched on this a little bit, didn't we, about, you know, having a good product, you know, having something interesting in a flashy launch, you know, at a party or a rave or something like that in your shop is great. It creates this buzz. You have the queue, you're giving food away. But you know, what sort of things do you do to get those repeat customers and build that loyalty?
I think our food's a huge advocate of this because you know we've got great feedback. I think on average we're 4.7 across 15 stores on Google, which is, you know, I'm yet to find a brand of that size that's achieving them ratings. So you know the food's a huge part of it. If you do a great food, people are going to come back. You know, you've got to have a good product, but alongside that, you know, we are so stringent on our staff to say, look, when someone comes into your restaurant, don't wait for them to get to the till. Greet them at the door. You know, say, hi, welcome to Plan Burrito. Have you been here before? Yes, no. If no, do you want me to go through the menu? Let me walk you through it. Do you want to test any of the ingredients? You know, we can give you a fork of the ingredients and try that. It's about having that, because I feel like that's been lost, especially since kiosks have came in and everything else like that. Now we're living in a virtual world, and you know, the customer service then becomes kind of what you see at McDonald's. I mean, I went not long ago to, it was KFC, and I walked up to the counter to place an order just because I wanted pepper mayonnaise on my burger. I know you can't do that option on the kiosk. And you know, I stood there and people that just looked at me, the staff. And I was like, I had to say to them, can I place an order at the till? And they were like, use the kiosk, please. You only use the till if we're taking cash. I said, but I just wanted to change my burger up a little bit. Oh, okay, we'll take that order. To me, I was like, wow, if this is what you're calling hospitality, you need to kind of look at what the meaning of hospitality is, because you lose that.
You're right, actually. A good friend of mine, Matt Smith, actually, he put up a post recently on LinkedIn, and his little son asked him, what does hospitality mean? And it was brought down to, I think it was being kind for your job, is how his son described it. And look, you're absolutely right. You know, we've got a lot of people with us today that are to do with recruitment and getting good people into the business. And I think it's worth touching on that, actually, because, you know, what builds brand loyalty and repeat customers? We started to talk about the fact that it's how your people are behaving, how they're interacting with customers. And that's really important, you know, of service and being kind to somebody, and you know, when you're felt looked after, and it, you know, the food and service put a smile on your face. It's what hospitality is about, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, let's face it, if the food's crap, no matter how good your service is, you're not going to get them back, because they'll say great service, crap food, I won't leave a bad review, and you're lucky, you know. But if you've got good food and you back that with a good service, then people feel warm going there. Not only that, but it's simple things, you know. We have, you know, a retro playlist which is always playing in all of our stores. It's got classics on there which will never go outdated, you know, that everyone knows, and when they hear it they think, I've never heard this. We're not playing Mexican music on repeat where it would literally drive the staff insane after a while, or songs that people don't know just because it's Mexican. You know, we want to relate with the customers that's coming into our stores, and we probably get one Mexican out of 1,000 people. So we're not going to target that one Mexican person over the 1,000 people that are coming in, you know.
Exactly.
So things like that, the seating area, the mood, you know, the service, it's all about that. It's all about that. And obviously, you know, if you've got some kind of reward system in place or loyalty card systems and stuff like that, or you can give your loyal customers a discount and stuff like that to get them re-excited again, launching limited time products, you know, to say, oh God, you know, I haven't had a Plan Burrito in a couple of months. That's sparked my interest again. I want to, you know, I fancy one now, you know, because it's about sparking that interest again,
keeping
you know?
people interested, mixing it up, making it different. But yeah, really, really powerful stuff. Let's have a little look. Let's go to a point here by your lovely friend. So Simon has put, between looking after the kids, I'll quickly comment, the ops manual, which is exhaustive, covers every possible topic. It is the Bible for the franchise partners. Part of scaling a QSR is positioning the brand to operate with 15 stores or 1,500 and having the systems and processes for that scaling in place. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you know, scaling a brand from 1 to 3 is different to scaling a brand from 3 to 10, and it becomes harder. So if you get the right processes in place at the beginning, you know, that's just then repeating a scalable process, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And you know, since Simon's been on board, I mean, we work really, I hope he agrees, probably not, but we work well together. You know, sometimes we disagree on things. I actually know, you know, he's got way more knowledge in me, way more experience in the game. You know, that's the reason I brought him on. So I'm happy to learn from Simon, you know, so he teaches me a lot. You know, and that's what you need. You need a good partnership. And we only have a very small head office team, but each one of us is a really important cog in the workings. And actually, I think, you know, not having too many heads involved with things that you've got to decide in a business actually is a benefit, you know. And we all tend to kind of think on the same lines. So it's good. And yeah, huge advocate of Plan Burrito.
Yeah, so I think you're right. You know, it's hard, isn't it? Because you think as your business grows, you've got to scale your head office team, scale your ops managers and your support team as well. But it's not just scaling the franchisees and making sure that the values and the model is repeated and not diluted and that consistency is kept. It's how you scale that head office team as well. Like you say, at the moment, you've got a head office team that gels really well, works beautifully together, but that team has to evolve and grow as the brand does as well. So you know, you're clearly very sensitive to that. I think it's really important to get those things, you know, as right as you can. Let's have another look. What do we got here? I think we had another question. Here we go. Here's one from Simon. I don't think we got to this one. He's put, has budget hindered or helped your growth plans? This is an interesting question. I'm not sure how you want to answer this one, but I mean, look, at the beginning we talked about those constraints that you had on capital, and I think that's part of why you want to create a relatively low cost model for your franchisees, apart from the fact that, you know, money is tight and you've got to get the return on investment. But how do you look at that in terms of how you've grown your brand? You know, if you'd had unlimited money, let's put it this way, if someone gave you unlimited money, would that have helped you? or do you think sometimes having to get by has made you more creative?
I would have loved some money to be honest. But looking back now, no. I think when you're up against it, you know, I remember opening my store on a Sunday, and everyone was like, "What are you doing opening on a Sunday? Because every other store on that road is closed." I said, "Well, students are hungover on a Sunday." I said, "They want food." So I opened up on Sunday and I made £8 in the whole day, and that was working from kind of 12 o'clock till 10 o'clock at night. I made £8, and I sat to myself and I thought, God, what have I done here? What have I done? But then the next Sunday, it was kind of 50 quid. And then the next Sunday, it was £100. And it built and it built and it built. You know, so I didn't employ people for my business until I could afford to employ people for my business. You know, if I couldn't afford people, I had designed the model so I could run it myself. So I didn't have staff wages to pay. Any profits into the company was then my wage. You know, when you're talking franchisees, when you're talking about the operating profit, you know, that's after you've staffed the store. Well, if you work in that store and you pay yourself a wage and add that to your operating profit, then, you know, you probably you'll be better paid off than a lot of normal work out there. In terms of the budget, I mean, Labour just need to do one, I think. You know, I don't think they've got a clue. You know, they're up in kind of minimum wage again and think they're doing it for the people. The problem is, you know, these people have got to work somewhere. If they're up in the minimum wage and they're not giving the businesses anything back to be able to pay that minimum wage, businesses are either going to, you know, start firing or shutting down the business. Now, when there's no business, there's no job. When there's no job, there's not even minimum wage anyway. So, you know, you've got to start at the source and bring it back, and then it will start feeding to the people, you know. And if you look after the business, then they can afford to pay the staff more. I can't believe we've got these people in the heart in at the top, and actually, you know,
I understand. Look, I think it's we're starting to come towards the end of today's session, but I think a good place to end would be we've talked about where it started, how it's grown, some of the challenges that have been along the way. But what is the future looking like for Plan Burrito? You know, actually, no, you can give us some exclusives here, but what have you got planned for the future, Steve?
Okay, so we've got a Stevenage site opening, a Lincoln site opening. We just opened Swansea on Monday. We've got a Treforest site opening.
Wow.
We've got a Crawley site opening, and we've got another one, West London, that we're just trying to locate a suitable property for. So that's 7 that we've got to open next year up to now, and we're also looking. We're in conversation with master license and multi-unit franchisees as well. So we've got a busy year ahead, even though we've got problems in the economy. You know, entrepreneurs are still wanting to go and you know, ride the storm for hopefully when the government gets
absolutely. There's there are always inventive ways round. You know, people always strive to do something. You know, when things are challenging, there are different things that we do to make our businesses successful, and you're clearly somebody who adapts and changes and fills the burritos with different things depending on your circumstances and the environment. So look, brilliant. Well, look, I think we have come to the end of today's first episode of the QSR show. I've really enjoyed it. I want to first of all thank everyone who has been with us here live today and getting involved in our conversations. You are the directors and the producers of this show, and I said I started off with nothing written down, but now look, I've got three or four pages of it, because to me it's lovely to hear these stories, and QSR is such a passion of mine. You know, I've been in and around the industry since I was 18 years old. So it's a real pleasure to have these conversations. And Steve, thank you so much for being our first and a wonderful guest.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me, Harvey.
You're most welcome. So it just leaves me now to say thank you again. Please join us on the next episode of the QSR Show, which will be at some point in December, teasing you with it there. So I will be putting out lots of information on that. And of course, join us on our sister show on Tuesdays at 5:15 for the franchise show for more lovely conversations. So until next time, my friends, have a fantastic week ahead.